Hey, I want to talk about nutrition because I know that a lot of people are confused about what to eat. They're afraid to share what they eat or even the knowledge that they have that may help somebody else. And here's the truth about what it is about nutrition, okay? When it comes to nutrition, everybody is different. You can be healthy in a number of ways. We're going to talk about the facts. We're going to talk about their things that there's studies on, and then we're going to talk about new things. So let's start with the facts. Okay, the facts are, and there have been studies about how a plant-based diet, a plant-based way of eating, meaning mostly whole foods that are vegetables and fruits, helps you to live longer, helps you to be healthier. When you eat a lot of red meat specifically, that has been linked to a lot of diseases and a lot more stress on the body. Now, does that mean don't eat meat? No. And I believe because God said that we can eat basically anything, that means that you can sustain your life by eating anything, right? Now let's look at an example of people. Let's look at the Inuit people who are in these crazy climates and they only have access to a certain type of food, which is basically a carnivorous diet. Their lifespan is a little bit shorter than other people. This could be because of the food, but also because of the harsh environment that they're in. Your environment plays a large role into the types of food that you can eat, the access to different foods that you have. Think about your family, right? You grew up with your family eating certain things, and you probably still eat those things to this day. Now, say you marry someone who has a different way of eating, you're probably going to, say they like a lot of seafood and lobster, and they eat that a lot, and you're not allergic to it, so you eat it. Your eating style is gonna change most likely because you're with this person. So your environment affects the way that you eat. And this goes all the way back into even ancestry and how that can affect your body and your nutrition. So when we think about ancestry, there are people who historically they've eaten a certain way for a very long time. Let's take my ancestry, for example, with West African people. A lot of those people were not eating dairy. Some of them do, but the people, my ancestors, were not eating a lot of dairy, which means that today when I eat dairy, I have a negative reaction. And honestly, this goes for most people in the world, besides a small percentage of people whose ancestors were herding cattle, and over the years, over the centuries, they were able to use that cattle for milk and for making cheese and butter and all these things. They're not lactose intolerant. Also, remember, your environment plays a role. So if you grow up eating dairy and you're initially allergic to it, you can see this in babies if they're fed certain types of milk that's not from their mother's breast. They might gain a lot of weight. They might get eczema. They might have a lot of red patches, and you just think, oh, where's that coming from? It's probably because they're allergic to the dairy. But by the time that they're 5 years old, they might not be allergic to the dairy anymore because they've been introduced to it so much. So your environment plays a large role. Your ancestry plays a large role. Throughout your life, though, your diet, your way of eating and nutrition is going to change. It's not going to stay the same depending on what you're doing. So for me, I went through a phase of healing, deep healing. And in that phase, I naturally leaned toward a plant-based way of eating. I even spent some time, and still do sometimes, eating just raw foods that are vegan foods, like just plants, to heal, because that's how humans heal. We need to either decrease your amount of food or be eating detoxifying foods. Now let's talk about the first point that I mentioned, which is decreasing your amount of food. This is why a lot of people can look very healthy eating a certain way, right? Let's just talk about a carnivore diet. someone who's raw vegan versus someone who's a carnivore, we're taking two extremes, right? Someone who's raw vegan, they're going to consume a lot more food than someone who's carnivore, right? Just in the mass of food, the volume of food. As a raw vegan, you're going to need a lot more food. You're not going to be able to, perhaps you could, but you're probably not going to be able to sustain a healthy lifestyle with just one huge watermelon. That's a big watermelon, yes, but you might need more than that. You're going to need other ways to get other types of nutrients. Now, there's arguments about that too. Can you survive on just watermelon? Can you survive on just bananas? If your environment is not introducing a lot of other stressors and things like that, perhaps you could. I don't think anything is not possible. Now let's look at the carnivore. The carnivore is not about to be eating a whole half a cow every single day. They're going to probably eat smaller portions. They're going to eat, mostly meat and eggs or fish and things like that. But their portions are going to be a lot smaller because they're not going to need that much food. Now, if their portions were larger, this is my opinion. There might be studies on this. I don't know. But I feel if their portions were larger, if they were eating only large amounts of meat, eggs, cheese, or whatever carnivore diet consists of, that would probably impact their health negatively. But because they're only eating smaller amounts, that means that their fasting windows are greater. They have more time for their body to detoxify. That's what happens when you fast. Your cells are able to regenerate. Your body's able to get rid of the waste and then recycle things and then get better and heal. This is why someone who eats one sandwich a day can be very healthy if that sandwich, or even just one meal a day, right, can be very healthy if that meal has a lot of vitamins and everything that they need to sustain their life. Because even if that sandwich has a lot of waste type of acid forming foods, they're only eating one sandwich, so their body has a lot of time to get rid of that waste, a lot of time to recycle, rebuild, and extract all the acid. Now let's go back to the raw vegan person. They're gonna need to eat salads, they're gonna need to drink smoothies, they're gonna need to do all these things because the fruits and vegetables are very rich in nutrients, but you're gonna need a lot more to sustain yourself. So it's very different. Also, those fruits and vegetables are likely not going to cause that much acid because they're more cleansing. And everybody needs to detox because there can be parasites in fruits. There can be parasites in vegetables. And also there's things like anti-nutrients in certain vegetables that people like to talk about. So there's a lot of different styles of eating, and it's gonna change over time. Let's look at an example let's look at Beyonce, okay? Whatever diet Beyonce has, I don't know, but she probably has to maintain a very healthy diet because she's a high energy, high level performer person living a very, a high energy lifestyle. During performances, I read that Beyonce actually changes her diet very strictly to be a vegan diet. I don't know if she's eating raw or what, but she's not consuming meat. And that's because these fruits, these vegetables, they have a connection to the soil, which as humans, we need a connection to the soil, right? And so they have more of this energy that you can get that's not gonna be heavy on your body, that's not gonna weigh you down. Right, so we looked at Beyonce. We could also take a look at athletes. Depending on your sport, you're gonna need to consume way more food for whatever event or anything. So when it comes to nutrition, you have to know your body. You have to know what stage of life you're in. If you are couch potato, you don't need to be eating an athlete diet that's going to stay in your body. Athletes can eat a certain way because they're burning fat, they're burning energy all day. It might be better for them to consume a whole steak rather than 3 salads. Maybe it's easier for time. They might burn it off more, it's going to be more lean. Who knows, right? That's for them, that's for their specific thing. When it comes to someone like Beyonce, something, she wants to be very strict. She don't want anything that's going to weigh her down or whatever she's thinking. is going to depend on what you're doing. So think about your lifestyle. Are you sedentary? Are you athletic? What does that mean? There's also certain vitamin deficiencies that people might have, in which they might need more of a certain type of food. So check in with your body, what symptoms you might have, to see any deficiencies that you might need to be filling any gaps with. Because I see so many people confused about eating, listening to all these things, and I was one of them. There's things that we know are bad for us, like the processed foods, the fake foods, the hydrogenated oils, or whatever type of bad oils. And we know those things might not be great for us, but even let's look at something like palm oil. People have been using palm oil for centuries, and people think palm oil is bad, but maybe for that specific type of person whose ancestors have been eating and using palm oil to cook their food for centuries, the palm oil doesn't have the same effect on them. Same thing with something like white rice. For some people, white rice is not good for them. But let's take someone from like China, whose ancestors were probably eating white rice for a long time. The white rice is gonna have some great benefits for them. If you're confused about what to eat, learn your body, learn your ancestry, learn what you're allergic to. I know what I'm allergic to, because if I eat it, my body has a negative reaction. It doesn't have to be a huge negative reaction, like I break out in hives, it might be that. But if I can't digest my food, if my stomach is in pain for days, or if I get a breakout, I know I'm allergic to it. And it doesn't matter how much I love the food. Sometimes it's the foods that we love that we're allergic to. It doesn't matter how much I love the food. I'm willing to care for my body, care for my temple, and remove that food item for my health. So learn what you're allergic to. And when it comes to allergies, it's really not that simple. It's very complicated, okay? Because anything that we have a very complicated relationship with. For example, and I love giving y'all examples, if you grew up eating a lot of let's say tortilla chips. You grew up eating a lot of tortilla chips, or maybe you had one bad experience with tortilla chips, and now your brain associates something bad with tortilla chips. So if you eat it, your body's gonna have a negative reaction. Versus someone who just eats tortilla chips, there's no negative type of association in their brain. They can eat tortilla chips and be fine. But when you do, your stomach is cramping and you're constipated. That's how intricately connected to food we are. The gut and the brain are so connected. So you got to learn your allergies based on your past, based on your ancestry, and know your body. The ways that you can know this are by being able to study yourself. You have to become a student of your body. And if you need help with this, I do offer coaching, one-on-one private coaching, where I can teach you different methods on how to learn your body, how to eat healthier, how to learn more about nutrition, and know what to feed yourself so that you feel good, so that you feel alive, so that you are energized. And I hope this has cleared up some things. I know it's kind of like, well, you can eat everything, but it's also not you specifically can eat everything. Everybody is open to eating everything, but you specifically have a blueprint for what you can eat, and you have to learn that. And that is also going to change at different parts of your life, and you have to just be able to test one thing for a month or 2 weeks or whatever it is and see how your body likes it.